Hello everybody, in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Rokinon / Samyang 135mm lens. Now this is an f2.0 lens, which means you're going to get crazy amounts of light in, probably about 5 to 6 times faster than your normal lens. And this is my first impressions of the lens. First off, I would like to say when I'm recording this video, I have already used this lens for deep space astro, and I've only used it once. Tonight I'm going to take it out for another run. But this lens already is an absolute win for anybody who's looking for a budget DSLR lens or any type of lens in general that can get you massive amounts of light in just limited time. And this is basically what people would call a refractor in a lens, because it has 11 glass elements. That is 11 total elements in, I'm pretty sure, 7 groups, that allows for very sharp images even at f2. Now I'm going to show you an image I took last night of the Theta region, and this image, well, let's put it this way, the image was a little bit bloated because of that f2. I had it at the widest aperture, but if you're looking for something that's going to give you even just a little bit sharper stars at like f2.4, if you do it at f2.4, it wouldn't matter that much. Like, it would just completely stop down that star. And for my first impressions, the lens is absolutely great. It weighs a lot. It's very heavy. It's not, very heavy. It's significant though. It does weigh a little bit. It's not like a super light lens. It does come in a lot of different mounts. So this is a Canon EF mount. So if you're looking for a Canon EF mount, it does come in that. It also, pretty sure it comes in a Sony mount, a Fuji mount, and a bunch of others if you really want to increase the amount of lenses you own, if you own that many cameras. But I'm sure nobody does. I'm pretty sure everyone's either like primary for one brand of camera. But I use a Canon EOS, I think it's an 80D, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's an 80D. And I used the Samyang 135. This is just brand new. I used it last night, like I just said, and it works pretty good for what it costs. Now I will mention there are two things that are going to make or break this lens for you, and they have nothing to do about the image quality. The image quality on this lens is absolutely superb for only $450. I mean, it's gonna be $550 by the time you add like a protection plan on it and add shipping and tax. It's gonna eventually end up at $550. But if you're looking for something that's going to give you a refractor for a DSLR at this price point, this is what you're going to go for. And also, if you want to order the Rokinon lens, this is a Samyang. The Rokinon is the exact same thing. It's just made by a different company. But if this is the Samyang 135, so if you're looking for the Rokinon 135, it's the exact same thing. I've heard no differences at all about the two lenses, the Samyang and Rokinon. I don't even know if they're made by the same people, but it looks like they are because they're basically the exact same lens. But this is the Samyang 135, and there are two caveats that I want to mention, two little minor things that I want to mention before you buy this lens. The first one is this little lens hood right here. I don't know if you can hear that for the microphone, but it does rattle around a lot, and this is locked in. So this is the lens hood locked in, and it does rattle around a lot. So if you're looking to create like really accurate flat frames for astrophotography, that is going to be an issue unless you have some sort of headband you can wrap around the lens, and it's not that really big of an issue. And then the second thing is the outside of the lens is mostly plastic except for this little red ring here and the mount, which is full metal. That's really the only two concerns I have with a lens like this. If you are gonna drop it, I know you're not gonna purposefully do that, but if you are accidentally gonna drop this lens, you want to have the lens hood on, because that will save your life when it comes to this lens, especially if you have that lens hood on. And it also is reversible, like I just showed you in the beginning of the video. The lens hood is reversible, so you can put it on backwards if you really want to. I don't know why you do this for astrophotography. You obviously want the flattest image possible without any like stray light, so I would recommend putting the lens hood on. And yeah, so that was my first impressions when I looked at the lens. Now let's move on to what the setup was like during the night, because I'm going to move on to what that was like. So during night with this lens is a very, very, very tedious task, because not only are you using that f2.0 really wide speed, but you're also going to be dealing with just the focus ring in general. And I'll take off the thing so you can see the focus ring, because that's just on backwards. The focus ring is very, very good. I would say this is the best lens I've owned that has the best focus ring. So you're going to get you're not going to get a lot of movement here. There's very little play in the focus ring. I mean, there's barely any play at all when it comes to moving the ring for focusing. But one thing I would tell you to do if you are going to want pinpoint sharp stars is you're going to want to stop it down using the manual focus, manual stop ring here to probably F4, F5, and then just focus it and then go back to F2. And the great thing about this lens is it's very, very stiff for focusing. So you won't ever have to use electrical tape or gaff tape or anything to tape down the lens, which I think is a huge bonus win, because having a lot of play in that focus, especially when you have temperature fluctuations in the night, is really, really bad. But the good thing is this lens does not have any play, if any at all, when it comes to the focus ring. So if you're going to want those pinpoint sharp stars, especially if you're using a cooled camera. I currently don't have a cooled camera, but if you want somebody who uses a cooled camera, that is definitely a benefit, just to have no play in the focus ring at all. And I know telescopes, they're locked in, they have zero play sometimes, but for camera lenses, it's very, very common for play to happen in these focus rings. And for example, I own the EFS 55-250 zoom lens, and there is so much play in that lens, I could barely use it for astro. So it's why I upgraded to this Samyang 135, because not only does it have great image quality, and you're getting that bonus as it's like a refractor with those 11 lens elements, but you're also getting zero play in that focus ring. So you can really, really pinpoint those sharp stars when you're out there doing astro. So I would also like to mention something before the video ends, is that this lens has such a wide aperture that it can be used for untracked astrophotography. And it has such a long focal length that it just makes it so perfect for capturing that light really fast at an f2. And at 135mm, you're basically getting a perfect crop of almost every intermediately large object in the night sky. So yeah, so first impressions, I thought that the lens was pretty good. When I set it up last night for astro, I thought it was decent. You know, obviously getting those sharp stars is a little bit difficult, but it's not that big of a deal because this focus ring has zero play in it, so you're gonna get those sharp stars as sharp as possible. You don't really need a batten-off mask for that. For other lenses you might, but this one definitely you don't need a batten-off mask at all. But one thing I would recommend, if you don't want bloated stars, I just recommend just turning it down to f2.4, f2.8, which is going to make a huge difference when it comes to light gathering, but it's also going to just still give you that awesome aperture, and it's going to give you those really, really sharp stars. Now, obviously in the picture I have here, the stars are extremely bloated, and I wanted that way because I wanted to see how fast I could capture light with this lens. And it captured this object in only 55 minutes of exposure. I was going for an hour and a half, but I just wanted to quickly move in because I really wanted to see what a $450 lens could do, and it outperformed itself by astonishment. Like it was insanely astonished when I loaded up the final image in Photoshop at around 12 in the morning last night, and it's just insane what this lens can get you for the price that it's listed at. So overall, would I recommend this lens for astrophotography? Yes, this lens is an absolute must for anybody who's doing untracked or even tracked with a star tracker. And if you do have a star tracker, that is going to be so beneficial when it comes to using this lens, because you can, let's say if you have an f5 lens, I know, these are more photography terms. Let's say if you have an f5 lens, right? If you have an f5 lens, when it's at 135mm, which I'm assuming most lenses, cheap lenses are at f4, that's around 4 times more light gathering than, the other lens. So this is getting you 4 to 6 times as fast as your previous lens. So an hour on this lens is probably 5 to 6 hours on my 55 to 250 lens at 135 millimeters. So you are getting so much more data in very limited time. So if you're looking to do very, very faint objects, this lens is also a good choice. But again, for faint objects, you're also going to need hours and hours and hours of exposure time. You're never going to get, a dark nebula in under an hour. That's just routinely impossible. I've never photographed a dark nebula in under an hour. It usually takes me at least an hour and 30, maybe 2 hours of data to even start pulling out some data. And even then, you're just still going to get some read noise from the background, even if you have like hundreds of calibration frames. But this lens is an absolute must buy. If you are getting this lens, I would recommend to get it from me as an Amazon affiliate down below in the description, because I'll earn commissions on that. It's a nice way to support me. And if you already aren't following me on Instagram, you should. It's Mr.Astrop on Instagram. And anyways, that is the review for this video. So I hope you enjoyed the review of the Samyang 135. And I will get back to you on some other astrophotography stuff. Tonight, I'm going to go out and use this lens for the IFN of Polaris. It is an extremely faint dark nebula. But again, with that f2 aperture, it is very, very possible to get it into Bortle 6. And I've even gone on Astrobin and already pre-planned my exposure time and stuff. So you shouldn't have any problem using this lens for astrophotography. And then if you do, please leave a comment below and I'll try to get to you as quickly as possible. And if not, just hit me up on Instagram, because my DMs are open. So thank you so much for watching this review, and I will see you next time. So Astrop signing off, and goodbye.